Oh, this premiere is amazing. You know, we started about 3 years ago together, and now to be here tonight with this kind of reception, this kind of affection from the fans is a dream come true. Look, I think as a mature Thor, you know, like we've seen him in Avengers, and now he's been off, you know, the cleanup in the universe. All the enemies of Asgard have been running rampant over the world and the universe, and he's had to go and you know, arrest those individuals and tidy things up. And so there's a battle-worn sense to him, but we're in for a pretty exciting journey on this one where we pick up. You know, at this point when we see the guys, you know, Loki is locked in a cell. The key's been thrown away, and he's basically to be forgotten about. And Thor's faced with the situation where he needs to recruit Loki and align the two of them in order to defeat this enemy that's attacking them. It's the greatest enemy they've ever faced, and it's his last resort, but he has no other choice. So. The feedback that we've been given has been that it's funnier, the action's bigger, the drama's bigger. It just keeps going, and a great continuation from where Iron Man and Avengers and Captain America all left off. You know, and I think that's what's special is all the films seem to flow into each other nicely.
This evening is so incredible to have all of these fans and all of this spectacle. I think it gives a real sense of the kind of movie it is. It's for the audience, it's for the fans, it has a lot of fun, a lot of humor in it. Jane is really, she's had a hard time since the last Thor film because Thor hasn't called her, so she's pretty angry at him when she sees him again at the beginning of this. But then they have a good time, and she goes to Asgard with him. She gets to explore her scientific curiosities and all with a lot of jokes. It's so fun to get to come back for a second time and work with all these amazing people. And this time, because I got to go to Asgard, I got to do scenes with Anthony Hopkins and Rene Russo and Tom Hiddleston, all the people I missed out on last time. Well, I think there's a lot of really amazing relationship stories in this between the brothers. It's really moving, but all the while there's like a real sense of there's action more than you can imagine, and lots of humor.
This crowd is crazy. I've been to a lot of premieres, but I've never been to anything this big. So it's a lot. It's incredible. I think everybody loves the Marvel films. I think they cover so many themes and they're so universal. I mean, the superhero story is a coming-of-age story, which everybody can relate to. They've been very nice about Darcy. People seem to like her. So excited, over the moon excited. I was hoping that Darcy would come back, but I didn't know, and no one told me for a really long time. So I found out kind of when everybody else found out that I was in it. She's the best. I've known her for like 6 years. We've been friends for a long time. And look, the director, Alan Taylor, is my favorite. You look handsome. Anyway, and then that guy's in there, so that's nice. Natalie is wonderful, and she's everything you'd hope she'd be. You know, she's gracious, she's incredibly talented, and just laid back and awesome. Well, I'd say 2 years have passed since Jane and Darcy have seen Thor at all, and they've relocated to London to continue Jane's studies. And Thor has been all over the place in the Avengers and various other things. And he hasn't called Jane in 2 years, so we're sort of trying to bolster her spirits back up.
The character I play in this film is Malekith, who is the villain. He's a dark elf. He has his own language, and he is nursing a grudge, and he is after vengeance and world domination. Sounds familiar? It was great. I auditioned, and then I flew off on my holiday. First day of my holiday, I was told I got the job, so I bought a mid-price bottle of red wine and sat by the pool and drank the lot. Well, it started about 2 o'clock in my kitchen at home with me having a piece of toast, and then I got in the car at 3 and I was in the chair at 4, and then I hit the set about 10, and then I could unleash my malice and pent up frustration and my vengeance on the Asgardians. You know, if the baddie is just physically terrifying, you're in trouble. They need to be psychologically terrifying. Probably unpredictability is the key to any good characterization, I would think. A surprising amount of humour, and also, you know, the requisite stunts and special effects. I was surprised at how the film has gone for comedy and doesn't take itself too seriously, but I suppose that's part of the Marvel universe. It's good. They made me feel very welcome. They all work very hard. Chris particularly is a gentleman. He leads by example. I had a great time with them all. You know, you don't take it too seriously. You know, you can't. Great time. Had a great time.
I mean, this is the cherry on top of the cake. I mean, it's the reward for all of our hard work. I mean, the whole team, the Thor team, the Marvel team, the Disney team. I mean, this has been a long, drawn-out process. The makeup, prosthetics, set design. This is when it all comes together, and we share that vision with, you know, the people. And I just think, you know, for us, I've seen the movie, and it's such a spectacle and a real honor and a privilege to be a part of it as an actor, but also as a boy. The kid inside me is just giggling because I had so much fun and I got to play two characters. Yeah! I was, you know, because I live and work mostly in the States, so the opportunity to come home and shoot here and get paid to be home, I signed up. I don't care what I'm playing. I said I'm coming. Algrim and Curse, and these are, in the movie, the quintessential baddies, but they're not really. They're the scorned victims. These are the race, the Dark Elves, who have been scorned by Thor and his race, and their population has been wiped out. And there's a certain time period within the constellations within which they can reclaim their heritage and their population. And this is that time. And here we're back to reclaim our rightful share. And we do it by any means necessary. These are aliens you do not want to mess with. You know what I mean? And when they say dark elves, they mean dark elves.
What's it like to be here at this massive premiere? It's mental. It's really surreal. You know, I didn't expect it. It's my first time on a red carpet with me in a film, and I mean, it's great, but my knees are a little bit wobbly. Okay, so I play Ian Boothby, who is Jane's intern's intern. So I'm Darcy's new intern. So I'm an apprentice astrophysicist. So I'm like dead clever and stuff. And I sort of go there to get a bit of work experience, and then just suddenly this whole new universe sort of opens up in front of me. So I'm sort of the eyes and the ears of the audience in a way, because I'm the newcomer that sort of sees what is really going on in the universe. I mean, it was quite scary at first. I think like the first scene with Natalie, my first line to her is, "You're Jane Foster," and all I'm thinking is, "You're Natalie Portman." So in that sense, I could use my own nervousness for, you know, what this character went through, because he's of the nervous disposition. So I just sort of used what I was feeling at the time for that. I mean, that's ace. I mean, I love that side of it. It's brilliant. You know, when you're running away and you're like, right, you have to get this right because there's a massive explosion. It's going to cost a little bit of money to make this explosion. We only get one chance to do it, and you're going to be the guy doing it. And it's really a real adrenaline rush, and, you know, it gives you something to look forward to, you know, when you wake up in the morning. I'm not going to complain, basically. I think they're going to go away with feeling like they've been on an adventure. You know, I think they're going to go and watch it, and they're going to take a couple of hours out of their own lives, and they're really going to really go on a journey, and they're going to see explosions, they're going to see good versus evil, they're going to see romance, suspense, a little bit of kissing. You know, hopefully people will enjoy it as much as I enjoyed making it.
I'm here at the London premiere, and it's huge. I started approaching from a distance in a car, and you could hear the sounds as we approached. You could see the lightning that they're blasting for us. Partly I think it's wonderful because we shot here, and I haven't been back here, like a lot of us haven't been back here since we shot, and London is a big part of our movie, so to stage this event here is great, and the fans are, you know, wonderful. They're out in droves for Thor, but also for the guy that's talking right now, Loki, who seems to have a following. It's great to launch the movie here. We're going to get a chance to show it to American audiences next week, but it's great to start here where we shot it. It's gotten bigger. We've gone to more realms. I think my intention was to darken it and deepen it. We're going to kill some beloved characters, but while we were doing that, we also had to make sure that the other side of the dial went up too. So I think it's funny. We're trying to raise it on all those levels. So we'll see. Let us know when you see. I came in as intimidated as I should have been, sensibly, coming from the small screens, so to speak, to the huge global epic screen. I pictured the worst you can picture. And then I came and found out that this corporation that is making these global movies is actually a handful of guys in a small room in Manhattan Beach. It's mostly Kevin Feige, and so the actual creative process is intimate and feels kind of like an independent movie in that you're basically looking the person in the eye that you're making all the decisions with, as opposed to the sort of the worst version of the studio process where you've got a hierarchy of people who are afraid of the people above them. And it's never like that at Marvel. Even though they're owned by Disney, and even though there's a lot of people involved making all this happen, it's actually a surprisingly intimate process there.
I don't think you ever get used to them. I mean, you can't, because they're such enormous events, and they inspire kind of an extraordinary devotion from the people who love the films. And yeah, of course you get a buzz from it. No, I'm not used to it at all. Well, when we had a conversation, it was myself and Chris Hemsworth and Kevin Feige, actually long before Alan Taylor came on board to direct, and I said, look, if we're going to do this again, it's got to be different, because the audiences are too smart and they get bored. You need a new bad guy, but I'd love to be in it. And what about if Thor and Loki teamed up in some complicated way, which they do? They can expect the things they loved about the first film. They can expect the dynamic in Thor and Loki that they loved in Avengers, and it's a new chapter. It really is. It's like. It's a new development. It's really been exciting to make it, and it's full of action and spectacle and drama and family, and perhaps most surprisingly of all, it's very, very funny. So come prepared to smile.
Well, what I do on this film basically is just sort of consult a little bit, and then every now and then say, oh, hold on a second, what about my movie? Just make sure they don't do anything that would really destroy the continuity. Obviously, the tension is that they've got to have character progression, they've got to move somewhere different, they've got to do a lot, but then I've got to make Avengers for people who may not have seen it, so I've got to make sure that they don't turn Thor into a frog, for example, and then I don't have to explain why he's a frog at the beginning of my film. Spoiler alert, he does not become a frog. Well, he started working out finally. He's, Thor's finally, he's gone to the gym once or twice. As a character, watching his development it's fun. It's difficult because he's so iconic and he's so stoic and Viking-y, and so you try to find how can you bring more to him? But Chris is always anxious to sort of sink his teeth into that. Where can he find the conflict in a life that seems so blessed? And how do you make the guy who's the strongest and, let's face it, the prettiest, kind of an emotional underdog? It's really what's been fun with Avengers 2, and I think it's fun in this as well. Well, obviously in the very first Thor film, he was a fairly callow fella, and he needed to learn a lesson. He is who he is in the beginning of this, and the trials he's going to be put through are further progression in the maturation of him as the once and future king.
I'm getting quite used to premieres of this size. I've done 6 Disney movies or something, and I've been at the Pirates of the Caribbean's openings at Disneyland. It's amazing. I don't know where they get all those people, because they can't all be extras, can they? No. But he started very normal as a paternal figure in the first Thor film, and then he got possessed by Loki in the second in Avengers, and obviously he hasn't recovered quite properly in this film, so he's probably over-medicated too. So it's a little strange in this film. We'll see if he ever returns to normality. It's lovely because they're good actors and very nice people to hang with, and we're having a lot of fun on the set. It's very, we know each other well, it's relaxed and cool, so it's good. I hope it will be a fun and exciting ride again.
You know, it's been about 2.5 years since we sat down for the first time and had an internal sort of Marvel discussion. Where do we take Thor next? And we'd made Thor and we'd made the Avengers, and there were a couple of things. We wanted to take Jane to Asgard. We wanted to see more of Asgard, and we wanted Thor to be put in a position where he needed to ask his brother for help. His brother, who is, of course, the main villain in Avengers, he's now going to team up with. And the question is, can he trust him? That was sort of the creative kernel that has now popped into this feature. We were looking early on for another director. Kenneth Branagh did a spectacular job for us on the first Thor, was going off to other things. And I decided to look into the world of TV. Spectacular programming was happening in television. Mad Men, Boardwalk Empire, Game of Thrones. And one name kept popping up on all those shows, and it was Alan Taylor. And we reached out to him, and he was interested, and thankfully, he's now delivered this spectacular movie for us. The first Thor film took place in Asgard, in Thor's homeworld, and in New Mexico on Earth. And we knew we were going to go to Asgard again in some of the other 9 realms, but we wanted Earth to play a different kind of a role in this, a more urban role, a more center role around the globe, and there was no better place than London. We were also going to produce the film in London, and therefore it was perfect. You know, this is the 3rd time that we're lucky enough to have Chris Hemsworth play Thor, and I think you're going to see a slightly more mature Thor, less arrogant, less brash, but equally powerful and equally dynamic. And his scenes in this movie with Natalie Portman, with Tom Hiddleston, with Anthony Hopkins are spectacular. The biggest challenge in making Thor: The Dark World was to make it as realistic as possible. And when you have a movie that takes place on so many other planets, on so many other worlds, it's difficult to make that feel real. We did it by shooting in real locations, practical locations. We went to Iceland, we went to Norway. And what you see in this movie for The Dark World, for Asgard, all have a basis in reality, which give it this amazing look, which is what our director Alan Taylor was able to bring to it. I think the fans are going to find many twists and turns in this film. Just when you think you can pin Loki down, he surprises you. Just when you think you know what Thor's going to do, he surprises you. And hopefully the whole movie is going to surprise people.